Hi everyone, welcome to the Pivot Challenge. I'm Atty, glad you're here. Right, so you're watching the recorded version of this workshop, which means you can pause, rewind, and rewatch as many times as you need. So work at your own pace, there's no rush. So, quick question. Have you been going around in circles on the same career questions for weeks or even months? Like, should I go for a promotion, pivot into something new, leave the company, leave the industry entirely, start a side project? What am I going to do next in my career? I don't know. I've got so many ideas, or I've got no ideas, and I feel stuck. You've rewritten your CV 100 times, you've opened tabs on your browser, you've made lists, but you're still no closer to deciding. It can be very stressful. I've been there many times. So take a moment, let that feeling settle. Now imagine 6 months from now. You're still in the same loop, still wondering, still stuck. It feels heavy, right? So here's what we're doing today. It's simple, just 3 steps. So number 1 is going to be to name your 2 to 3 realistic options so you stop spinning through endless possibilities. Number 2 is going to be pick one of those to test so you know which one's actually pulling you forward. And number 3, we're going to name your biggest doubt so it doesn't stop you. Okay, you'll also get a cheat sheet of the framework of this call with the notes and the things that I'm saying to you, and you'll get a recording of this workshop. Okay, so by the end of today, you'll know which option you're leaning towards. And if you want support working through your doubts and making the final decision, you need some implementation, then of course you can book a call with me and we can talk about that on the call. Okay, so sound good? Let's go. First of all, I'd like you to pause the video and write down one thing you're proud of, one thing you're grateful for, and one challenge you're having in your career when you think about your next step. It could even be a challenge that you're having right now that's stopping you thinking about your next step. Okay, so take your time, pause now, and come back when you're ready. Okay, so do you have one thing you're proud of, one thing you're grateful for, and one challenge you're having in your career when you think about your next step or even possibly right now? Okay, so before we dive in, I want to tell you why I built the Pivot Challenge, because I've been where you are. So at one point, my senior consultant job at a tech consultancy looked perfect on paper. It was remote, it was flexible, the pay was good, better than what I'd had before anyway. And in theory, I was able to homeschool my kids, it was in COVID, and make dinner. So you kind of think you've got it all, but actually I felt really boxed in, incredibly drained, really stressed out. Like I was trying to fit into the hours and patterns and expectations that just weren't mine. I thought they were going to work for me and they just weren't working for me. Maybe the expectations used to be mine when I was younger and my life was different, but they just didn't work for me anymore. And I keep thinking all the time, why am I so stressed? Like, I should be glad I have a job, right? Some people don't have jobs. I should be glad. I should be grateful. I just need to do more, be better, be more organized, work harder, calm down. I was also perimenopausal and I also had undiagnosed ADHD. So there was a lot going on. But like many people, I would just think, why can't I just cope? And why can't I just decide what to do? Should I quit and go freelance, or should I stay in my job because of the security? Blah, blah, blah. It wasn't a lack of confidence about my skills. I knew I could do a good job. It was a lack of clarity. And also, I was putting way too much pressure on myself. So I needed a way to untangle all the mess and questions in my head, to stop spinning and just decide already. So now I've built this framework. So it's something simple, practical, and that actually moves you forward, gets you going, gets you out of your head a bit, and it works for me and for the people I coach. Quick example, one of my clients kept applying for roles at the same company over and over again, hoping for a breakthrough. She really got it into her head that she wanted to work with that particular company. They represented a lot of things that she wanted for herself, like sustainability and, a great brand and people like them and things like that. And good salary, of course, was important. But she kept applying she kept applying for jobs at the same company, and she was literally applying for anything. So once we mapped her options and sorted out her doubts a bit, she realized the cycle itself that she was stuck in was the problem. It wasn't a question of her skills or her experience. It was just that she was stuck in a really unhelpful holding pattern. So she redirected her energy as an experiment. And within a couple of weeks, she had much more clarity and she'd made some momentum and she'd started applying for senior executive jobs at different companies. So that's what we're doing today. We're getting you unstuck. Okay. Before we start, I need to tell you something. I've been telling you a lot of things, but I'm just going to add one more little thing onto the end. It's very likely or very possible that you've been trying to figure this out alone and you think that's what you're supposed to do because you're a smart, grown-ass woman who can get shit done, and why would you need to ask for help? Well, you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to work harder. You don't have to do things alone. Because that's often what keeps you stuck. And I speak as a veteran of this. I always think I have to do things on my own, even now when I know that it's not necessarily the best way. But when you're trying to work through something on your own and you're inside your own head, you can't see the patterns necessarily that you're getting stuck in. You often can't see which of your doubts and your self-doubts are noise, just like mental fluff, and which are real. You can't necessarily see which option is actually pulling you because you're too busy trying to logic your way to the right answer. And there is no right answer. There's just the next move that you make. Okay. So the people that get unstuck usually stop trying to do it alone. They get support, they talk it through, they let someone else make some space for them so they can actually stop, look around and see what's going on. So that's what's happening today. I'm holding the space for you. You're going to see things you couldn't see on your own. And if you want some dedicated support from me to actually make the decision, not just think about it alone for another 6 months and to implement, you can book a free call with me and we'll talk it through. Okay. Right, now we're actually going to start on the work. So here we go. Step one is to name your 2 to 3 options. So pen and paper ready, notes app, whatever. Step 1. Right now your brain is spinning because you're trying to hold too many possibilities at once. We're going to narrow it down to 2 or 3 real options, things that you could actually do in the next 30 to 90 days. Not fantasy options like live on a desert island with cocktails. I mean, you can do that, of course, as well. Not someday options, real ones. Here's how this works. So first of all, we're going to do a brain dump for 3 minutes, or as long as you want, because you can pause this because it's recorded. Okay, so take a few minutes, write down every career option you've been considering. Could be a promotion, could be a new role at your company, could be a new company entirely, could be pivoting to a different area, say maybe within your company or within your industry. Like you might want to move from, say, software development to design or product. You might be thinking about a leadership role, HR, speaking, community engagement. You might want to leave your industry. You might want to stay where you are, but also you've got an idea for a side project or a business. Maybe you want to make jam and look after rabbits. Sounds nice. Maybe you're thinking about taking a career break for your mental or emotional or psychological health, physical health, for fun, a sabbatical. Just get them all out. No filter, no judgment. Just write every single option that's been taking up space in your head. Write it down. Pause the video now for 3 minutes or so and do this exercise and come back when you're done. Okay, welcome back. So hopefully you've got a brain dump now of all the ideas spinning around your head. And now part 2 is a reality check. We're going to assume approximately 5 minutes for this, but again, you can take as long as you want. So look at your list. Now we're going to do some editing. So take a few minutes to cross out anything that you can't actually do in the next 30 to 90 days. And when I say do, I don't mean you have to complete it. Like you might say, well, I want to get my boss's job. You can certainly start working towards it. So you can leave that in. But, you don't have to complete it within 30 to 90 days, but it needs to kind of be a realistic goal. More importantly, cross out anything that drains you just thinking about it. And cross out anything that sounds good on paper, doesn't actually excite you. So we'll go through those again. So cross out anything that's like a very long-term goal. Okay. that you can't see yourself at least starting, putting some work in towards in the next 30 to 90 days. Cross out anything that drains you when you think about it, just makes your body just want to slide off and onto the floor and your brain shut down. And cross off anything that sounds good on paper but doesn't actually excite you, just leaves you feeling numb, neutral, bored. Okay. So we're looking to narrow it down to 2 to 3 options that are real, doable, and at least somewhat energizing for you. So they make you feel excited or curious or even maybe a tiny bit scared. Okay? Cross out the rest, be ruthless. Pause the video now for 5 minutes, however long you need, and then come back. Okay. Welcome back. Okay. So circle your top 2 to 3 options. These are the ones we're going to be working with for the next of the workshop. So what are they? Circle your options. Pause and take a minute if you need to. Okay. So here is the important thing. You're not choosing forever. You're just choosing your next move. That's all. Okay. We're thinking about our next action, our next move. What are we going to start working towards? Okay. Now let's figure out which one is actually pulling you. So take a breath. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose, into your stomach, into your lower back. Hold it for a couple of seconds if that's safe for you. And breathe out. Okay. So you've got a list, probably quite messy, lots of options, some of them crossed out, some of them not crossed out. Okay. Now what we're going to do is pick one of these options to test. And obviously afterwards you can go back and test another option if you want, but just pick one for now. You've got a few options on the table. Which one actually makes you feel something good or intrigued? Not which one looks best on paper, not which one other people would choose for themselves or choose for you. So you might be able to hear voices in your head saying, yeah, but that's a good idea, or yeah, you should do that. Try and let those voices just fade into the background. So which one are you most curious about, if all else was equal? Because here's the thing, you kind of already know. Your brain is just looking for permission to choose. So we're going to give it permission. Take a few minutes and ask yourself these questions. Which option am I most curious about? Don't judge yourself. No shame, no nothing. Which one do I keep coming back to? And if I had to pick one to test this week just to see what happens, which one would it be? Okay, no pressure, no drama, no quitting, no this, no that. We're just trying stuff at the moment. Write it down. So which option am I most curious about? Which one do I keep coming back to? If I had to pick one to test this week just to see what happens, which would it be? Okay, write it down. You do not have to commit forever. You're just choosing which one to test first. So pause the video and work through this. Remember to refer to the cheat sheet if you need the questions. Okay, welcome back. Quick recap. You don't need to commit forever. We're just testing one option. Take one step and see what happens, and that's how you know. Now, let's clear the one doubt that might be stopping you. Okay, so this is the juicy bit, the even more juicy bit. We're going to name your biggest doubt, okay? Because when we think about what we want, there's lots of things going on. One is, I know what I want, but I don't know if I'm allowed to do it. One is, I don't know what I want. One is, I think I know what I want, but surely I want this because that's what I've been working towards. There's so much yada yada going in our heads. So, and all that creates doubt and fear and kind of keeps us stuck and stops us exploring what we want to explore. Okay, so your brain will try and stop you. So let's get ahead of it. This isn't therapy, just for your information. We're not dwelling on stuff. We're just naming the one thing that's in your way so it doesn't slow you down. There's going to be more than one, but we're going to start with one. So here's what I want you to do. For the option that you've chosen, that you're leaning towards thinking about testing, ask yourself this question. Ready? What's the one doubt that's stopping me from moving forward? I bet you're going to have about 10 or 20, but let's just focus on one for now. Here's some examples. Maybe it's, What if I fail? What if I'm not ready? What if I regret it? What if people think I'm crazy? What if I can't afford it? What if I've left it too late? What if I look stupid? So if any of those or anything else ring a bell in your head, write it down. The biggest one. Okay. So pause the video while you need to write those down. Write your one biggest doubt. And of course, you can make notes and keep others. Pause the video and then come back when you're ready. Okay. Welcome back. Now we're going to look at your doubt and figure out noise or signal. This is an interesting bit. So, is it noise, this doubt? Is it like an old story that you keep telling yourself? And if you had to think about why you're telling yourself that, either you probably come up with, I have no idea, or, oh, I remember this time when I was 5, and all of this matters. But it's just important to know whether it's kind of relevant to what you're doing now. Okay. As I said, we're not going deep. All right. I know everything's relevant in a way. So look at the doubt that you've written down. Could be like, what if I fail? Or what if people think I'm stupid? Whatever. Is it like noise? Is it an old story, a fear that you've been carrying around that very likely isn't even true? Like, is there evidence? It's probably not true. It's probably just something you've been carrying around with you. Or is it actually a signal, a sign, a real thing that you need to check or handle before you can move forward? Like, is there some kind of practical element or logistical, or do you genuinely need to deal with something before you can move forward with the option that you've been thinking about? So write it down. Is this doubt noise or a signal? Could be both. If it's a signal, as in something real that you need to check or handle before you can move forward, what would you need to do to address it? What are some things, how could you handle it? What are some things you need to put in place so that it stops being a big doubt that's stopping you moving forward? Pause the video, write it down. Okay, welcome back. Okay, so what we just did with that one step of that one doubt, you can obviously go back and look at all the other doubts that you've written down, or see if you can come up with more and go through that again. Is it a noise or is it a signal? If it's noise, we don't have to analyze it right now. We can just accept that maybe it's not what we need to keep in the forefront of our mind at the moment. Maybe it's not helping us. Maybe it's just like a kitten running around your feet, getting in the way when you're trying to go down the stairs. I've got a kitten, so I know what I'm talking about. But we don't have to ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist. But we can just say, okay, that's not really helping me right now. I want to focus on what I want to get done. Okay, so the thing we've just done is not every doubt, which is what I'm trying to say basically, not every doubt deserves your energy. You don't need to spend your energy on every little doubt you have, right? Or every big doubt. Only the signals, the things that you can actually take action on, are going to guide you towards action. And action is what you need when you're stuck. Okay. Here are some examples. One person I worked with thought, I'm not qualified. That was noise. The real signal was that I don't know the application process. So it wasn't that she wasn't qualified, but that was something she was telling herself so that she didn't have to deal with the application process, which was quite difficult. And then we worked through it and it was okay. It was just difficult when she hadn't explored it yet. So once she realized that the story she was telling herself, I'm not qualified, was just a kind of a noise thing, it wasn't really true, then we were able to take action. So what I'd like you to do is go back, look at your notes, look at the cheat sheet, think about what drains you, think about what energizes you, think about your doubts. Are they noise or signal? And that should help to guide you to take some action towards your next step. So if you want support with me working through your doubts and moving past them, you can book a call with me and I'll send you the link. But for now, you've named your doubts, so that's huge. Obviously, you can go back and do this for all your doubts. If you're anything like me, you will have quite a long list. Okay, so let's recap. You've done the work today. You've named 2 to 3, whatever number you came up with, real options. You picked one to test. That's the one that's pulling you most. And you've named your biggest doubt, so it doesn't have to stop you. And now you've got everything you need to make a decision. So a decision doesn't necessarily mean you have to do anything right now. You don't have to decide to quit and then quit. You don't have to decide to start a business and immediately start a business. What you're doing is getting some clarity in your head and opening the way so that you can start thinking about your next step. Okay, so you'll get your Notion workbook, as I've said, with a 30 to 90 day action plan template. So you know exactly what to do next, small steps, use it, work through it. And if you get stuck or want support, I'm here. But before we wrap, let's take a moment. Another breath. What's your biggest insight from today? Which option is calling to you right now? I know you can't tell me this, but you're welcome to email me or DM me on LinkedIn or Instagram. And what's one thing you'll do this week? So I snuck that in at the end. You need to take an action. Pause and write down your answers. Okay. Now, if you're sitting here thinking, okay, I've got some options, I know which one I'm leaning towards, I should be able to take it from here on my own. Good for you. But possibly that's the same thinking that got you stuck in the first place. So you don't have to do this alone. You can talk it through with a friend. You can go through the worksheet with a friend. You can watch this video with a friend, partner, family member, whatever you like. I suggest that you take a few days because lots of thoughts will come up. Thoughts and feelings. You might feel a bit cross, you might feel a bit angry, you might feel happy, you might feel excited. The point is your brain's just doing a little reshuffle. Okay. So, but the next thing you need to do is take action, and that is what the workbook is for. So the people who actually make their move often will be the ones who get support. So the workbook is there to support you. As I say, you can watch this on replay. But the people who actually make the move often stop trying to figure it all out on their own, in their own heads, and driving themselves up the wall. So you can get it from everyone I said, communities, friends, family members. You can also get it from one-to-one coaching with me. And if you want support working through your decision and building your plan, here's how we can work together. You can start with a free 30-minute intro call or game plan call. We'll talk through where you're stuck, which option you've been thinking about leaning towards, whether one-to-one coaching is right for you, whether one-to-one coaching with me is right for you, and what we'd work on together. In the one-to-one coaching, we work on things like navigating career transitions without burning out, setting boundaries, protecting your energy, speaking up for yourself without feeling awkward about it. That's a tricky one. And designing a career or a life or a decision or a choice that fits how you actually operate right now in your life. No pressure, just a conversation to see if it's a fit. And then if you don't want a full coaching package, that's say 90 days, if you don't want a full coaching package, that's a 90-day transformation package, but you need one focus session to work through your decision or build your action plan, I offer 75-minute deep dive sessions. So we can cover all that on the intro call. We can cover all that on the game plan call. So don't worry. All you need to do is get in touch with me. And the link is in the follow-up email that you'll get. Here's what I want you to remember. You don't get extra points for doing this the hard way. You don't have to figure it all out alone. You've untangled your options. You've named what's pulling you. You've identified what's in your way. Now it's time to move. Even one step creates momentum. Action is what turns this clarity into movement. You just need to take a step. You're ready, and thanks for being here. See you soon.